Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you for having me here, and welcome everybody to this particular webinar. I am so happy to see so many names flashing on my screen, even though I can't see a lot of faces. I guess we are all alive and kicking. So welcome to this time and space that we have co-created for you, which is called as storytelling in business. And I would like to add the word authentic storytelling in business. Let me just do a screen share for a little while. Okay. Okay. So can you see my screen, Jimmy?
Yes, we can see.
All right. So I know the session's called storytelling in business. However, I like to always add the word authentic storytelling. And I will, while we progress in the session, I will share with you the reason why I say that. However, since we are so many of us, and I would like to begin with something special. If you can read the words written on your screen to yourself, just get familiar with these words. It's called Zindagi hai sargam, bajne de saazon ki dhun, har ek naya pal, ummeed ki hai kiran. I'm going to do a stop share for a while. Okay, I want people to be little on unmute for a short time.
All people for follow-up with Nabi. So,
anybody wants to speak and unmute themselves, including you, Yogita. Yeah.
Yeah, so I want you to see
Yogita,
lines for you. And later on, I would want you to join me in the singing.
Yogita, we can't hear you clearly. Could you please?
Sorry, you're saying something, Jimmy?
Yes, Yogita, we couldn't hear you clearly. Could you please repeat?
Yeah, I'm continuing to sing. Hold on. Okay. So you can actually send me a feedback through chat. That'll be better in case if I'm not clear or something.
Yes,
so
yes,
I go again.
Zindagi
hai sargam, saazon ki dhun. Zindagi hai sargam, bajne de saazon ki dhun. har ek naya pal, ummeed ki hai kiran. These are the 4 lines. So if some of you can show me your faces and you can stay on mute, that's okay. And you can sing along with me. And I would rather request you to stand up in case you're sitting down. Stay on mute. I think it's better that you stay on mute and show me your faces if some of you can possibly do that. Because it's nice to be seeing some faces and know that there are people out there you're talking to. And if you can, please stand up wherever you are sitting. I'm going to stand up too. Okay.
Sorry, Babu.
Stay on mute. Yeah. And now, if you can see me, hear me, I'm going to sing 2 lines with some actions. Repeat after me after 2 lines. Okay. Zindagi hai sargam, bajne de saazon ki dhun.
जिंदगी है सरगम बजने दे सारे
हर एक नया पल उम्मीद की है किरण
और एक नया पल
उम्मीद की है किरण. One more time.
है किरण.
जिंदगी है सरगम बजने दे
सारे जिंदगी है सरगम बजने दे सातों रंग
नया पल उम्मीद की है किरण हर एक नया पल
उम्मीद की है किरण.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And you can clap for yourselves. Wherever you are, in whichever part of the world you are in. All right. So, some answers through chat. Hi, Simi, I can see you. Hi, Nitin, I can see you.
Hi.
Rakhi. And yeah, I guess. And Seema. Right. And Prashant.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah. So, if some of you can tell me, what did we just do? Am I not audible?
You are.
You are, now you are.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Yeah, no, somebody wrote you're not
So
audible.
actually, when you were doing that act, so at that point of time, maybe the noise. It was not very clear.
All right. So can somebody just share what did you just do? Anyone? So why did we did sing a song, but what was that?
It was an icebreaker.
Okay, who said that? Seema?
Yes.
Seema Lahiri, yeah.
Okay.
It was a stress buster.
It was a stress buster. Okay.
We tried.
It was a hope giving.
All right.
It was a hope.
It was a hope. Okay. Simi?
So we tried to sing in unison,
Okay.
but we couldn't. So a trial to sing in unison.
Okay. A trial to sing in unison. Wonderful. Anybody else?
I
see-
think you made us smile after a long time.
Oh, that's
Lavina, so good to see you there.
that's what storytellers attempt to do all the time. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for saying that. It makes my evening. Yeah, so somebody said it was an icebreaker. Seema, are you from a training and consulting background?
Yes.
There we go.
The very word icebreaker, I think, gave it away.
Okay, so icebreaker, it was engaging, you made us smile, and we tried to be in unison. It was about hope. Yeah, I guess pretty much covered the responses that you gave me. Yeah. I think we need to put somebody on mute there.
Yeah, I'll put everybody on mute. Only you can speak.
Okay. Now, I told you that all of us together just told ourselves a story in 4 lines. And Simi, you rightly said, a story of hope, a story of positivity, a story of us, just in 4 lines. Zindagi hai sargam, bajne de saazon ki dhun, har ek naya pal, ummeed ki hai kiran. What if you were not to sing this, instead you were to sing कैसा ये जहां है इंसानियत तू कहाँ है. These 2 lines. That's another story. A story of disappointment, a story of hopelessness. So, actually, what I want to tell you is that we become the stories that we tell ourselves every day. You know, so if you tell yourself a story of hope, you become hope. If you tell a story of hopelessness, I don't want to say that, right? So we are the stories that we tell ourselves, and I'm going to start screen sharing again with you, because Jimmy said that some PowerPoint slides are a welcome thing. Okay, so we are the stories that we tell ourselves. Now, we're talking about storytelling in business. I will tell you, before we even go on to business, I want to tell you something that happened in 1944. Okay, there were 2 psychologists, Hiddle and Simmer. They did an experiment actually. They put some random geometrical figures like triangles and circles and squares together, and they randomly animated those. And once they had done the animation, they went to some 100+ participants and showed them that animation.
Now, later on, they asked them, what was this animation about? And you won't believe that 114 out of 117 participants reported a story. They saw a story in that animation. And with that, Hyder and Simmer concluded their research by saying that human mind thinks in the form of stories. If you give them the right stories, people get it. Otherwise, they make their own stories because there is no other way a human mind or human brain can process information. So we all think in terms of stories. We are the storytelling animals. We think and link in terms of stories. That was what was concluded at that point of time. Now, if some of you can actually, through chat, write down, what do you think are some, how is storytelling relevant for you in your area of work? What are some of the applications of storytelling that you see in your area of work? If you can just write a line or two, I'll quickly go through the chat. Okay. Okay, it conveys facts and figures of forgotten stories. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Carry on. Story is a great way to connect. Text facts are boring. We can tell in story benefits. Create visualization, expressing. I'm a financial planner. Okay. Gathering requirements for software development, expressing yourself. Wonderful. Stories help me connect easily with people and touch their heart. Beautiful. Okay. Those were some wonderful responses. Creating content for trainings, of course. And I like that. You simply enjoy telling stories. Beautiful. Okay. Now, a lot of times when I tell people, and it's a very conscious move that I made into the world of storytelling from completely being a full-time trainer. And when I turned a storyteller from, and in my programs, I would use stories at times, but I was not a storyteller. When I became a professional storyteller and I went back to the industry, no, not a lot many people welcomed me a few years ago. They wondered, what is the storyteller doing in the corporate circles? Have you ever thought about that? What is storytelling, why is storytelling relevant in corporate circles? I mean, most businesses, I see these corporate honchos day in and day out, the CEOs, their direct reports, and I see these are walking, talking brains that are moving around in the organizations. It's like they're full of mind, brain, and body. So they take actions, they think, and they take actions. But sometimes I wonder that where do they leave their heart? Do they leave their heart back at home when they step out for work? Is it not important for a corporate person or a businessman or a businesswoman, to take her heart or his heart with him or her when they go back to work? Are feelings not important in the corporate or the business world? And I realized, the more I researched about it, I realized that it is critical. As we are the storytelling animals, heart connection is absolutely important. The most important decisions, whether in business or in personal life, are not based on hardcore logic and rationale. They are based on emotions. Look at today. I just, before I take you into the world of storytelling, I just want to put it out there, because this is something, there's a story that I'm seeing happening, building, right, being written every day. All of us right now are at home, working from home day in and day out. We all have personal chores to look at. We all have our families to take care of while we are trying to run our businesses. So the those very, very strong, thick lines between the personal and professional world that was earlier demarcated, those are getting blurred almost every day, every hour, every moment. For the other day, I was reading Tata Consultancy Services, TCS, is actually planning to shut down 75% of their hardcore offices and giving everybody work from home because now they feel it's not relevant anymore. So the lines are blurring. People are becoming more adaptable, more conscious of the fact that we all have personal lives as well as professional lives. And I feel, that's my own take, that a new story is being written in the corporate and the business world altogether. And it's right now in the process of being written, and together we're going to write it, and together we're going to make a new corporate story happen. Yes, work from home has collapsed traditional professionalism. Absolutely true. The other day, so just a little anecdote. A few days ago, I was actually doing a storytelling session for a university, and the students were from mass media and journalism. And while I was doing the story, the director had not switched on his video. So I asked him, Nandan, you haven't switched on your video, even though you are the host. So he said, while I have to do this seminar, I'm hosting this seminar, I also have to make my 7-year-old daughter do her homework. So as soon as she finishes that, I will be back on video. And while the session was on, my son walked in to get one little help in his homework to be done. And they were more than happy to let me attend to him for 30 seconds. This would not have been a possibility 2 months ago. When I walk in as a storytelling consultant in an organization, I'm supposed to be all head and no heart. So that is just a little anecdote for all of you. Now, coming back to storytelling, we've just walked into storytelling application. I will just share a few here with you. Storytelling can be used for making presentations, to influence, inspire action, lead change in organizations, to communicate critical, complex, difficult messages or information, to share knowledge about a product or a service or a place or a person. Look at all the holiday companies, the tourism companies. They have made places, the stories about places, and they have flourished over the last so many years. Storytelling to build trust or connect with your audience or your stakeholders. So these are just a few applications of storytelling, and the world out there is much larger, much bigger, and you can put in as many as you want out there. Now, I mentioned to you in the beginning about storytelling needing to be authentic. So with, I'll share that with you later. Okay. Now, when I say authentic storytelling, there are 3 aspects to it. First and foremost, if you plan to tell a story, if you plan to lead a story, a change story, a communication story, or whatever kind of story, the first and foremost responsibility that you have is towards your own self as a storyteller. You need to be authentic to your own self as a storyteller, because unless and until you're authentic to your own self, you will not be able to tell an authentic story. That's number 1. Number 2 is storytelling needs to be authentic to the listener or its audience. When it's oral storytelling, it's the listener, but overall an audience, whoever is your audience is giving you their time, their energy, their effort, their resources. So you better live up to their expectations. So you got to be authentic to your audience as a storyteller. And the third one, and very, very critical one, storytelling has to be authentic to the purpose for which storytelling is being done. Every story that is told with an objective or a purpose. So you got to be authentic to your purpose. I see some chats there. Yes, you are the main character of your story. Yes, Nitin. The slide is not visible because I have made it invisible right now. So now you will see it. So authentic storytelling has three areas, which is truth to the teller, truth to the audience, and truth to the purpose. Authenticity is the most crucial quality of a storyteller, because if you're not authentic, you cannot be a good storyteller. Truth to the audience, there is a contract between the storyteller and the audience, which is from here, from your heart. You got to live up to their expectations. And finally, truth to the purpose. Great storytellers are devoted to a cause beyond self. Now, this actually reminds me, I'm going to stop share for a while here and talk to you. This actually reminds me of Jason. Jason, this is about 25 years ago, and this is a real incident. Jason was a college student, and he was in a group, he was in a class when one of his favorite professors, he narrated a story so compelling that 25 years later, Jason is still retelling that story. So I think, probably sharing that story at this point of time makes real sense for me as well. Now, Jason, as I mentioned to you, was a college student. Yes, absolutely right. It's better if story listener could also be made a part of a story. And I would have loved to make you a part of this story, except for we are so many of us. In the end, you will all become a part of, you will get an opportunity to engage with me and ask me questions, throw all kinds of questions to me, which I will be happy to answer later on. But coming back to Jason for now. Now, Jason was a college student, and he was in a class, and one of his favorite professors told him a story about his, one of the previous batches that he had taught. And this story stayed with Jason. Now, his professor told them that there was a group of students who happened to get very lucky, and they got a project so meaty that the chief district judge of that district actually asked them to take up a project on determining how to improve the jury's deliberation process. So that was what was given to them as a project. Now, these guys were young students, full of energy, and got so excited. They went gaga over the project, because not just it was a prestigious project, but also the fact they felt elated at the fact that they are going to be serving such a noble mission. So they gave all of it theirs to the project. So they went and interviewed the current set of judges, the former set of judges, the officials at the court, and some of the other people who visited the courts. They went and interviewed probably everybody out there. And they asked, they prepared a set of interview questions, which any to-be bright consultants would do. For example, questions like how many women judges vis-a-vis men judges, how many judges were senior and how many judges were junior, how many were old, how many were young, what was the ethnic mix of the judges who were taking the decisions. Even to the point that they asked questions like, how late did the judges work in the evening, and what kind of food were they fed, etc., etc., etc. They collected hordes and hordes of information, but nothing seemed to put things in place. Nothing seemed to matter, except one thing, which was the shape of the table in the jury room. They found out that the jury rooms, which had rectangular table, in that jury room where there was rectangular table, somebody by chance would sit at the head of the table. And it so happened that in each of these jury rooms where they had rectangular table, the person at the judge at the head of the table would inadvertently dominate the discussion and the whole decision-making process. There would be some judges who would not be sitting at the head of the table, and they would refrain from sharing their honest opinions, and the deliberation process would take less time. Whereas the jury rooms where they had oval or round tables, those jury rooms had more egalitarian environment, and they would, all the judges would have good, healthy discussion on, and coming to a fair, just, and more accurate decision. And the students felt elated because of two things. One, they felt that they nailed the problem on its head by finding this out. And two, they felt the solution was very simple, very easy to implement. All they had to do was replace the tables from the rectangular ones to the oval or the round ones. So they went and they presented their recommendations, the whole findings to the chief judge. And the chief judge also was equally elated. He was also in unison, in agreement with these students. And he said that you have actually nailed the problem on its head. And this is such an easy solution to implement. So he issued a decree. And he wrote that all the jury rooms which have oval or round tables, in these rooms, the tables need to be removed and replaced by rectangular tables. Yes, you heard me right. The judge issued a decree which said that all the rooms which had oval or round tables, the tables need to be removed and be replaced by rectangular tables. You know why? Because the judge's objective was not to make the jury deliberation process more fair, more accurate, more just. Instead, his objective was to make the jury process faster so that he can quickly finish the backlog of cases in his court. Now, the students, when they listened to it, they were completely dejected. They were kind of flabbergasted because they actually were elated at the fact that they were helping the district in some ways to become more just, more accurate, more perfect in its decision making. Whereas, unfortunately, they became a part of the problem, or they had to carry the responsibility of making the same judicial process a little bit more imperfect. They may have got A grades in their report, in their annual exams, but they still felt defeated. Now, 25 years later, Jason, who owns a professional marketing research company in the US, every time a new set of researchers come in his team, he tells them this story. He tells them this story to help them understand the criticality or importance of clarifying the objectives right at the beginning of any new research project. The students at that college did not clarify the objective, and therefore the whole purpose of their work got defeated. Their project got defeated. So it would have been rather easy and quicker for Jason to simply tell everybody, all the new researchers, that it's very important for us to clarify the objectives of our research right at the beginning. But that would have not been so effective. That would not have led to the new researchers feeling the pain of dejection of these students. You know why? They say that experience is the best teacher. And a compelling story comes as a close second. And that's why storytelling in business makes so much sense. I'm going to take a short 10 seconds break. If you have anything to add here or to say to that, I'll be more than happy to see it on the chat, or you could unmute yourself and share.
You have to use the chat only because as a host, I've not given them those rights right now.
Okay, so you could use the chat and
and maybe in the end of the session, we'll also have a Q&A. Yeah.
Yes, sure. I like to, as a storyteller, it's always the audience gives the energy, and it's always a two-way process. So
That's true for every trainer, Yogita, isn't it?
yeah, but when you are telling a story, it's like you're looking into the eyes of the audience, and probably going on you're on a go.
So what I always say when we do sessions in virtual mode is that we are actually those RJs.
Yeah, actually.
With the hope and belief that there are millions who are listening to us. Right now, there are 42 of us here. With the hope that, yes, they are there, they're listening to us.
Yes, no, I am reading their comments. So somebody said, I am Santosh from Chennai doing, how has it helped me? If better story listener could also be made up a part of better story. Whether personal or business storytelling will ever intersect, they will always intersect. The greatest of storytellers have been, they have told personal stories at their best. That is what makes a great, so for example, Steve Jobs or Nelson Mandela. I am kind of getting scared, but I would still say our current Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, he's a wonderful storyteller. And he uses his personal stories to do his business. So I will just leave it at that. Engaging, yeah, absolutely. I agree. Engaging with the audience. So when you're actually storytelling in person, always engage with the audience. I use a lot of participatory stories wherein the audience has a role to play in taking the story forward. Now, I would like to take you ahead into storytelling. Isn't storytelling natural rather than learned? It's both. I'm just trying to, actually I will answer all of these questions a little later. Let me just take you through something else right now. What is it? Now, how many of you could visualize? I have to ask you some questions about the story that I just shared with you, and you can put it on the chat, your answers. How many of you could actually visualize the round table or the rectangular table in the story? If you could, say yes. Okay, I did, I could. Okay. How many of you felt disappointed or, felt the pain of the students when the judge actually passed the opposite order, contradictory to their recommendations? Yeah. So your responses, I did, felt it, yes. Yeah, for a moment I thought we heard you wrong. Thank you for sharing that, and that's why I repeated. So the reason why you are feeling all of it, if I would have simply said, when I told you there are three things in terms of authentic storytelling: be true to the storyteller, be true to the audience, and be true to the purpose. Was it that effective before I told you the story? Now, every time, if you as a business leader, if you as a corporate trainer, if you as the owner of a business, if you have to bring out the importance of clarifying the objectives of any new project, a change project, or a new product to be developed, a new service to be developed, or whatever, changes in the processes, if you simply share this story, you don't have to say anything else. It will always stay in the minds of your listeners. Now, why I asked you, you felt shocked, you felt all of this, because there is something happening in your brain, and science has proven that our brain is hardwired for stories. I'm going to just show you something on a slide, and I'm going to talk about it as well. Where is the share screen? Okay. Okay, that's where we were. So, okay. So, research has proven that when you simply state facts to people, only two parts of your brain lit up, which is the Broca's area and the Wernicke's area. These are specially called as the language processing parts of our brain. Vis-a-vis, if you tell a story, up to 7 parts of your brain lit up. They get stimulated. For example, our visual cortex, where we can actually visualize what are the characters doing, how's the story progressing. Our sensory cortex, like smell, taste, touch, all of those get lit up. Imagine, remember the advertisements of chocolate ice creams and chocolates which are shown on TV, where every time you see an advertisement, you want to pick up a chocolate or grab an ice cream and eat it too. This is because as soon as you see that story of somebody else eating a chocolate vanilla ice cream on the screen, your brain's area, visual cortex, also gets lit up. Similarly, the way you were able to see the oval or the rectangular or the round table, it was because the visual cortex of the brain got lit up, apart from the focus and the warning area. Similarly, you felt pain because there was a chemical which was being released in your brain, which is called as oxytocin. Oxytocin, in simple terms, is called as either the love hormone or the trust hormone, which allows you to feel connected with the story, and not just with the story, but also with the teller of that story, the speaker of that story. So I'm sure 20 minutes ago to now, even though we haven't met each other, most of us, you would have felt some connection towards me as well, or with me as well, apart from your connection with the story. That's why I said it is very important for a storyteller to be authentic, because storytelling in business is also very, very susceptible to manipulation. And that is what, as authentic business leaders, as authentic corporate trainers or financial planners, again, somebody mentioned financial planner, you got to be authentic if you are bringing in stories of financial security to your potential clients. You can't mislead them, because the moment you do that, you are not authentic to your own self. So that was a little sneak peek into what the brain tells us about the importance of stories. We are all hardwired for stories. You give your brain right stories that will serve your purpose. Otherwise, your brain is naturally attuned to put 2 and 2 together, and it will create its own story. Gossip, they say, is the oldest and the most flourishing form of storytelling. And by the way, just a little gender bias statement. Women are supposed to be bigger gossipers, but the actual research says it otherwise. Okay, I see the women smiling. Okay. Oh, it's 8:45 already. Okay, I was planning to tell you one more story, but I guess I can stop here. And if you have, so storytelling does make business sense. Just to give you quickly one or two examples. At Nike, all the top leaders are designated as corporate storytellers. Companies like Procter and Gamble, Mahindra and Mahindra, Volvo Eicher, Maruti Suzuki, Tata group of companies, they are leveraging the power of storytelling. Companies like 3M, I know I can go on, Kimberly-Clark, and so many others, they have risen up to the power of storytelling, and they are consciously leveraging the power for storytelling in business to bring about change, to introduce new products, to introduce new services, to make process changes, to make product changes. Steve Jobs, as I said earlier as well, he has been one of the greatest storytellers of all times. Nelson Mandela, another great example. So storytelling does make a lot of business sense. How? I think we have very limited time with each other to get into the how. Today was more about why. And I will just leave you with the definition of a story. Story is a fact which is wrapped in a context and delivered with emotion. A lot of people in business say that, don't give me a story. And that is the the most bizarre statement that I've ever heard. Because stories are not justification. Stories are born out of truth and they're rooted in truth. I would have actually given you a story to share the story of truth. But for now, I will stop. But all I can say is stories are built around facts. They are wrapped in a context and delivered with emotion. That's when it bypasses the head and straight away touches your heart. Hope you found this session useful, and I'm open to taking questions, Jimmy.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Yogita. That was pretty inspiring. I have a couple of people reaching out to me on my email beforehand. And one of the gentlemen is an old hand at Tata. Since you spoke about Tata, Mr. Bharat Dhruv is here. Thank you so much, sir, for joining. He has written an email which said that what can be done to ensure that the storytelling becomes more popular? Because he said still people do take it as, they don't take it very seriously. So any comment on that?
I will, just share, since you mentioned about Tata and he being from Tata, I will just tell you about one of my recent projects when I was called by one of the Tata Group companies to work with the HODs. And they specifically wanted to become great storytelling leaders so that they are able to influence not just their teams, but their stakeholders across the spectrum. And we had a very long intervention with them to help them leverage the power of storytelling in their organization.
So which means the people are understanding the importance and appreciating what storytelling can do to them.
Absolutely. So that's why I said gradually but surely the power of storytelling is being realized by the top corporate and the business leaders. And, for example, in Tata's, they say that, that's what I was told by those business leaders, that every 2 years, even if if an employee has been in the system for a very long time, they have to compulsorily go through an intervention or a program where they're reintroduced to this original story of why Tata came into existence, so that they do not forget their real purpose.
Very nice. I have another question. I think we missed that in the chat, so I'm just going to read that out. It's from Shambhu Bhattacharya. It's a very interesting question. It says, a boss can take his chance to tell stories to the team. How do you start telling stories in the middle of the meeting with the customer or bosses?
Okay, great. Thank you. That's a wonderful question. A boss can tell you a story and he or she could start by saying, let me tell you a story. But as a subordinate, one trick to introduce a story without actually letting your boss get a hint that you're telling a story is simply say, so 3 days back when I was in this particular market, and the story flows in. So you don't have to say that I'm going to tell you a story. You simply narrate the incident in the form of a story.
Nice, thank you. One more question by Sandhya. It says, how do you make it short and sweet? How do you make it short and simple story? Okay, so that depends. So again, a story has critical 4 or 5 elements. Now, it depends upon you. I have told stories which have been only 2 minutes. I have told stories which have gone on for 25 minutes as well. So there is a difference between performance storytelling for entertainment vis-a-vis storytelling for a purpose. For business. In business world, people have this tendency to simply think rather than just say, cut the crap, come to the point. So so you can have shorter stories. That's why we have these anecdotes, we have these metaphors. A metaphor is the smallest form of a story. So simply use a metaphor. You would have told your story well. Very nice, thank you. You have some fan following here. Simi wants you to become her mentor.
Thank you, Simi. I know. Simi, thank you so much. I will connect with you, and I am sorry I have to come back to you. Yes, I will come back to you later.
So, okay, so one question which I have, Yogita, I mean, over a period of time, somewhere in my journey as a trainer, unknowingly or knowingly, I might have used stories. So there are a lot of trainers in this batch today. Okay, so what is the message you want to give to those trainers that how can they make their sessions more effective not only we don't know when the looks like this is the new normal, right? How do you ensure that, as you were saying, that as storyteller we're all used to get that experience of non-verbal communication? So how do we ensure that in short time, what 2-3 things can be done which can help people get connected with audience instantly?
One of the things that I've been trying to do that's why I kept repeating chat, put it on chat, put it on chat. For me, that is my way of seeing you, and your way of, you can see me and you can see me talk, but you can respond, share your response through your chat. And if possible, normally in my sessions, I unlike webinars, I keep the attendance limited to about 15 people. And with 15 people, you can build conversations. And also, by the way, Zoom, if you're following Zoom, please use breakout rooms.
Yeah. All right, nice. One more question from another old friend of mine, Deepak Shinde. He's an ex-M&M, since you spoke about Mahindras. Yes. So what he says is, can we use the same story to different audience at different occasions, considering the context?
Wonderful question. And let me give you an example. The answer in short is absolute yes. Let me give you an example. There is a story about Hanuman that I do. It's a mythological story. I have done that story as a performance for an audience as huge as 1,500 people in a theater, in an open theater. I have done the same story with a group of teachers to teach them the importance of helping them realize, make the students realize their potential. I have done the same story with parents, and I have done the same story with the vice presidents of an organization to help their people realize their potential. So same story, contextualize it, and also the style of telling has to change a bit depending upon who your audience is.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I think we're going to take last 2 or 3 questions. This is the other spectrum. Can we use different stories for different people for different contexts? I think
that's like you know the answer. Yes.
Okay. Let me look at that question. There was one I think which I missed. Okay, do you have 2 minutes if you can quickly share the Hanuman story? It's one of my favorites too.
Hanuman story is not a 2-minute story, so I generally use that at the beginning or the end of the. Let me give you the crux of the story. The story is about, it begins at a time when all the Vanar, some of the Vanar Sena, one of the units is sent to the southern part of country to look for Sita. And that particular unit was led by Jambavan, who was the Bear King, Angad, and Hanuman, and rest of the Vanar Sena. Now, when they reach the end of the land where they have nothing but the Atha Sagar in front of them, that's when the Vanars start getting, restless because they don't know what to do. At that point of time, everybody tries but fails. Angad tries to instill hope in them through motivational talk and all. But nothing happens. They fail. Each one tries and fails. At that point of time, finally, Jambavan realizes that everybody tried but Hanuman. So Jambavan walks up to Hanuman and has a conversation with him, and he realizes time has finally come for Hanuman to realize, to remember his forgotten powers, because he has the power to actually do anything and cross the sea by flying. And so Jambavan starts narrating one incident after the other, and Hanuman starts to remember everything. Finally, I tell this in a little dramatic manner, but finally what happens is Hanuman actually becomes that gigantic Hanuman from that tiny little Vanar. And the transformation is so beautiful, so mesmerizing that now the Vanars are jumping again, but this time in joy, because they now know that Hanuman has finally realized his true potential. Hanuman had finally become Hanuman, and the rest, as they say, is history. So I use this particular story to help teachers understand, and eventually when I ask, who are you in the story? So they end up saying we are the Jambavans. So it's very important to contextualize the story. When I talk to corporate leaders, again, they say they see both Jambavan and Hanuman, and they give me their reasons for it. And we have a very, very constructive and productive discussion on that.
Very nice. I think I'm going to take the second last question. There's a question which says that, is there any framework would you like to recommend for any storytelling?
Okay. There's a very simple framework specifically for business, which is CAR. Context. Give the context. So that's like the background of the story. If it's an organization, what were the actions taken and what was the result?
Okay, very nice. I think that's very easy for us to remember. CAR, context, actions, and results. And it's so easy for us to remember. Lovely. Very nice. So I think one of the questions said that, is storytelling going to be the competency for future? But I would say that future is already here.
Yeah, the future is now.
Future is now. Yeah, so yes, it's one of the key things. Thank you so very much, Yogita. It was a very enlightening session. I really appreciate that you could take time out of such a short notice. And thank you so much, everyone. There are close to 40 of us who logged in today. You made a choice to spend this 1 hour with us. We have recorded the session. It will be sent to all of you. And we make an attempt that every Friday, starting today, if we can get some of the dignitaries and who can come and share their knowledge. So Yogita, thank you so much. हमने बोनी किया आपके साथ.
Yeah. आपने बोनी किया मेरे साथ. अच्छा, मेरे साथ बोनी किया ना अच्छा होगा.
Because otherwise, all throughout, I have been doing sessions all by myself. But then we realized that we have such a large pool of talented people like you, and we should create sessions wherein people can hear more than what I have to say. So thank you so very much for being here, Yogita. Really appreciate your taking time out.
Thank you. And just because I'm a mother, I think it's a very, very auspicious date that you've started on. It's a Mother's Day. And so happy Mother's Day to everybody there.
Thank you, Yogita. But I thought it's on 10th. I saw your post on Facebook. It's on 10th. But okay, Mother Days can be celebrated every day.
Yeah, I keep it.
Cool. Thank you so very much, people. And we're going to close this meeting now. Thank you. Namaste. Take care. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
God bless you all. Bye.